Oh wow, that's spicy. Have you ever wondered how they grew those peppers you get to be so hot? In today's conversation, I'm going to tell you how to grow the hottest peppers. I happen to have grown my own peppers in my own pepper garden, and I've always continued learning and finding them very interesting. I would love to share it with everybody and hope they come to love peppers as much as I do and would like to grow them someday. Some of the things that I've done is use different type of fertilizers and other types of potting soils and water and growing techniques to grow peppers in every way possible, from normal peppers to super hot. And today I just want to share with you and maybe even inspire you to grow your own and maybe make a salsa garden or go beyond just growing peppers. So let's go ahead and dive in and discuss how to grow the hottest peppers or some peppers that you may like. Some of the peppers that tend to be hot or hottest or hotter may be like jalapenos, habanero, ghost peppers. Some other ones are seven pot peppers, which is actually just one pepper with the name of seven pot because it's more than hot enough to heat enough, more than hot enough to heat 7 pots of chili. Then there's the scorpion pepper, which was the world's hottest for a number of years, followed by the Carolina Reaper, which is the world's hottest until recently. It was just upstaged by Pepper X, which is now the world's hottest pepper at 2.6 million Scovilles per pepper, which is a ridiculous amount of heat. Most people are consuming it and crying instantly. But there's a lot of different peppers. Some of those other peppers, like jalapenos, are very mild, and most people find it very easy to eat. Also, once a jalapeno is grown to full maturity, it usually turns red and is not green like everybody thinks it is in the supermarket. Those peppers are usually at earlier stage in life, which is why they're not so spicy. Now that we know what peppers to grow, let's focus on how much water we need. So growing all those different peppers from jalapenos to habaneros to the super hots, like the ghost pepper and the Carolina Reaper, all have different water requirements. Some of those water requirements vary depending on the time of year it is, which pepper you're growing, how much sunlight you're getting, and so forth. So one of the best things to do is any water will do, but if you can use a water that's chlorine free and chemical free of everything else and not the farmer's water from the well or the irrigation, you have a better chance of controlling the outcome of what your peppers will do when you decide to harvest them. Different chemicals cause different things to happen sooner, later, or not at all. It's possible to kill your plant if you're using the farmer's water and your nutrient solutions that are supposed to age your pepper at a certain stage. Well, the other question is how much water to use. Well, that also falls back into the same thing, weather conditions and what is actually going on or what time of year it is. It's possible you need more water in the summer and less water in the towards the fall. You need a lot of water in the spring or no water at all because different things are happening with the air outside, which is causing the peppers to essentially absorb or not absorb. They pull water as needed. But one of the best ways to add water is probably by putting in the water in either a flower pot or your flower bed or wherever you're growing your peppers until you start seeing the water push back out. Once the water pushbacks out, normally the pepper has more than enough water to suffice it for the next day or two, depending on how hot it gets. A good recommendation is to always water your peppers in the morning. They're more likely to absorb everything, and you're less likely to cause any type of nutrient or water burn because the water, if it's hot, will reflect the heat and it'll burn the plant from beneath, causing a whole another set of stress and a bunch of other issues that the plant don't want, which it may use more water and still not be able to be enough to suffice what is needed to continue growing. Now that we know how much water and what type of water to use, let's see what's needed to when we're going to harvest our peppers. We need to harvest peppers at certain times and different times. Some peppers come in earlier, some peppers come in later, and depending on what's going on, we have to figure out when to harvest them. Most peppers will actually come in at end of season as you transition into fall from September to October. And a lot of those that do that tend to be either the last run of what has been growing, like jalapenos or anything else in that mild category, or if you're growing like a super hot like Carolina Reaper, it will have barely took off at the beginning of September and be mass producing as it cools down into the end of October. So with that being said, most peppers usually run from the springtime through the end of summer, and then you harvest. And there's different methods to harvesting. And one of the ways to tell when to harvest is you can go ahead and reach on the plant and grab the pepper and bend it backwards. If it snaps off, the peppers are usually ready. The other indicator that's a lot easier to tell without having to go touch the plant, because say you are growing a super hot, the oils come out of the pepper, causing you irritation sometimes on your skin, your eyes, wherever you touch after touching that pepper. So one of the best ways to tell is normally by color. There's a very varying set of colors for peppers. So you can see in the background behind me, there's a lot of red peppers, yellow peppers, orange peppers, some peppers transitioning with red, orange, green, and yellow. And all these peppers may or may not have been ripe at the time they were pulled, but they are varying in color to indicate that they are ready or on their way to being ready, or there's a certain flavor profile you're looking for. Like jalapenos, for example. They're 90% of the time they're green when people pick them and eat them. But they actually take, if you leave them on the plant, they'll turn red at the end of the season. Why? Because then they're fully ripened. In that case, they're less hot and they're more fruitful in flavor, I guess you could say. They don't have a lot of heat. They're a little milder, actually. So, with that being said, back to how I mentioned with removing peppers, one of the best ways is to take and reach over and kind of bend it backwards and snap it. And if it snaps off, it's ready and you can continue to harvest your peppers. Or if it doesn't snap off, you can go ahead and snip them off if you really want them, because they will continue to ripen after you pull them. However, though, there's a possibility with using shears to snip off your peppers. You can spread, if you have any type of illness or anything, contamination on your shears, you can spread that to your plant, which could cause a whole lot of issues, loss of crop, loss of the plant itself. It just wouldn't be good. So I recommend the hand method. The other thing to do would be to just take the plant and hang it upside down and let it completely dry out. Or some peppers fall off, because they do, like I said, if they can snap off eventually, they just fall off. You can collect them that way. That's a very more natural way. You just got to beat nature at absorbing it back into the soil. Otherwise, you won't have peppers. You'll just be regrowing another garden when the weather gets right. But a lot of those colors, green is usually fresh. Fresh colors, man. Green, sometimes you can pull a pepper when it's green and it'll taste good. Other times you pull it, and the only way I can explain it is a green taste. It tastes green, kind of bitter, no spice, no real flavor that's desirable. And with that being said, that's how you know you're too early to be pulling peppers. Then yellow, orange, and red, again, like I mentioned already, they vary between whether ripe or ready. 7 pots, for example, are normally yellow, and they're bright, and they're ripened at that color. Other peppers like habaneros turn orange or red, and they're ripened at those colors. However, I do find myself snacking on like when they turn a light green color when it comes to habaneros, because then they have just the right amount of heat that's not overpowering, and it's just an overwhelming fresh flavor to come from the pepper. And another thing to tell when your peppers are ready to harvest is the scent. You can walk by a pepper plant, especially after it's had peppers growing on it for some time, and you can smell the peppers. Sometimes the peppers smell really good. If they don't really have a smell, the peppers aren't quite at that peak yet, which isn't bad, because again, like I mentioned, you can still pull them. They will still ripen and be delicious, I guess you could say. But peppers have a way, once they grow to a certain point, they smell really good, or even you can smell the heat that comes out of them because we taste with our smell first. Now that I've pretty much talked your ear off on growing hot peppers and the hottest peppers, and like all the varying peppers you could choose from to grow depending on what you like, hot, spicy, over the top spicy. You can even grow bell peppers, which I don't know much about because I've only grown them once. I just know they take a lot of the same requirements as growing hot peppers, but you don't dry them out because you want those big round bells full of water, make them extra tasty. And a large bell pepper is always good. But you can take and apply anything I just mentioned to any type of thing, anything that you would grow in a normal garden. Tomatoes, cilantro, onions, potatoes, with the exception of having to dry things out or add water and take water away from the plants. That varies depending on what the plant is. Some plants only need water and you just keep giving them water and plenty of it and they just grow like tomatoes. Other plants like peppers, you give them water and then you got to take water away before you harvest them because if you want that flavor more concentrated and not full of water and watered down and tasting light, you pull the water, the fruit absorbs everything out of the plant and then it gets really tasty. Now let's go ahead and get out there and grow some of them hot or even super hot peppers and set the world on fire. And one of my favorite lines from one of my favorite individuals, which is the creator of the Carolina Reaper, the creator of Pepper X, is Ed Curry, and one of his favorite quotes is, "Can I overdose on hot peppers?" Because the guy literally eats hot peppers every day, holds them to be a holistic medicine that he found was more or less an aid in helping him get rid of his past diagnosis of cancer, which was exceptional. And through using peppers as part of his everyday diet, he has managed to stay cancer free and continue to keep creating more exceptionally hot things and raising all kinds of stuff. Thank you.